Hi, and welcome back to another care collab. So today's care collab is on the Murasaki Kamachi. It's a Zygopetalum. Read my handwriting there, and I'll also post it on the screen. But it is a cross between Zygopetalum Roquebrune crossed with Agonistia Cyana. Today we have quite a few channels participating in this care collab, so I am going to cheat and use my laptop I have sitting right here. I'll also post everyone on the screen, but today's participating channels are Plants and Other Things, Michelle's Life on Repeat, Attainable Green, Orchids and Fynbos, Roger's Orchids, Fernando Nascimento Orchids and Succulents, The Orchid Saga, Beauty of Orchids and Plants, Orchid 365, Anoveg Gia, and I apologize if I messed that up, Yin's Orchids and ADD, HillBilly Orchids, Julie's Orchids, and of course our care collab initiator, Nina from Ninja's Orchids. Let me move this alapi top out of the way so I don't knock it over so we can get started. In the last care collab that we did a few months ago, I asked for the collab because I wanted to show off the beautiful blooms of Zygopetalum here. However, as you can see, she is not in bloom currently. However, we have a new growth here, and I have another new growth here, and they're about the same height and growth. I do have a new root growing on this one on the outside, and there are roots going down into the pot from this one here. So today I am going to be repotting her while I kind of tell you guys how I care for her. Currently she is in a moss perlite charcoal mixture, and she's been in here since December of 2020, so a little over a year. I do keep the moss wet 99% of the time, so as it is in moss, it's over a year old. It does need to be refreshed. I am going to be repotting her into some cocoa husks that I've prepared, and I'll kind of tell you guys how I did that as well. Everyone kind of has their own way of doing it. And more importantly, I am going to be using gloves, a bamboo skewer that has been soaking in alcohol to make sure it's nicely sterilized. I do have my cinnamon because there are some bulbs on here I may be taking off. I've had the fiskars also soaking in alcohol, although I sterilized my fiskars prior to putting them away. But these guys, their roots are divas. They are the diva of the orchid roots. I mean, they're so sensitive. Of course, I've got the hydrogen peroxide for any cuts that I make. Put these gloves on. So I do grow my Zygopetalum in my living room, and the average temperature in here is between 72 and 75. Sometimes it can get a little bit lower, sometimes it can get a little bit higher. Let me switch these gloves around because one is a little tighter than the other. And the light that she gets is from east-facing window. There is some residual light that does come off of her from this grow shelf here. However, it's really not enough to affect her. I am going to put her back in her position of this table right here. This is where she grew last year during the winter. I did move her away because I needed to put some other things there, but I will be putting her back there. She seemed to really thrive in that position. The humidity, which one of the reasons I do grow it in the moss is their roots do prefer to stay wet. Let me move you down so you can kind of see what I'm doing while I'm chatting here. Their roots do prefer to stay, I say wet, but not soggy. Again, it goes back to that bright indirect light. Like, what does that really mean? And basically that just means you don't want the water dripping. You just want the media not to be dry. I don't know if that makes any sense. Let me cut this off here. And I'm sure we're going to be seeing some blooms. I'll post her blooms from the last time that she was in bloom, which, like I said, was the last time we did the care collab. She did have her blooms open. I did not get a fragrance off of that set of blooms. I don't know if it's because it was her first time reblooming, or I think there's something wrong with my nose because my twinkles I also feel like change smells. Now, when I do take her out of this pot, and I am squeezing the pot, I am not going to go rinse her off at the sink. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to get as much of this moss off as I can. And like I said, there's a couple of bulbs here. Let me be careful, this new growth. There's a couple of bulbs here that I do want to take off. They're older bulbs, and I think they're hindering the roots from going down in. I don't fertilize her quite that much. She gets about 100 parts per million of MSU fertilizer every 2 weeks. And then outside of that, she just gets plain water. And again, I'm being very, very careful because, like I said, the roots of a Zygopetalum in general, and a Zygonesia, like I said, is a cross with a Zygopetalum, are the divas of the root system. They're not like our Phalaenopsis roots where you can just kind of go crazy on them. Do what you want to do. Once I get this all removed, we will look, and it's coming off fairly easy, other than down here at the bottom. But if you look at the moss, it doesn't actually look that bad. It still looks really good, and there is quite a bit of perlite in here. I wanted to make sure there was lots and lots of air, and the reason I'm wearing the gloves is to make sure that the oils from my hand do not jeopardize any of these roots, because from what I can see so far, the roots are actually really good. There are a few that I see that will need to be cut off, and I do see where the root is coming down from that growth in the middle. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to kind of put her also in the cocoa husk is, sorry, I was concentrating, in the cocoa husk, because it does stay wet, but it also has its own airiness to it because of the different sizes it'll be. And the way that I prepare mine is it's just the cocoa husk, again, usually for reptiles. I boil it on high. And once the water comes to a boil, I leave it boiling for 20 minutes, and I'll stir it occasionally. And then I drain it. I rinse it really, really well with just tap water. I boil it again for about 20 minutes on high, and it's a roaring boil like you're cooking noodles. Stir it every once in a while, and then I drain it. I will soak it overnight, and then I boil it one more time. And then when I soak it from then on out, I soak it in just plain water, in my water that I get out of the Zero water filter, which has 0 TDS. I took a reading right before the video, and I'll post the picture. Right now, there was 0 TDS in the water after having been soaked for, it was in this bowl that I have it in here. I prepared it last week, so it's been in the just plain water for roughly a week, and it came out at 0 TDS. So I believe I've gotten all the salts out of the cocoa husk so that it does not affect any of these roots. All right, so here is what we have left on the roots. Hold on, let me get that. Like I said, I'm just getting what I can get without pulling too much. So she does have some desiccated roots right in this area right here. But as you can see, that is from the older growths. But all of the roots in the front from the newer growths are still nice and healthy appearing. I'm not going to say they are, but they appear. But this bulb right here, I want to get rid of, because this way this can sit in the media and those roots can go down into it. She is a climber, as you can see. You see her growth pattern there. But she is a climber, so we've got growth, 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 and then this growth, and then back here. These came pretty evenly, but then this one is right in the center. This one grew, well, this one grew up at the top. She doesn't look, her leaves don't look very good. I don't know if she's not getting enough light or too much light, and I'm thinking it's not enough light. And I know that's kind of counterproductive, because normally when the leaves lighten up, that means too much light or they're getting more light. But once I moved her from the table that was sitting right in front of the window, her leaves started lightening up quite a bit. I will put her back where she was used to being. And with the roots, I'm not going to be cutting the actual root off. I'm just going to take the velamen off just to help with stabilization. But here's that little back bulb that I'm just taking off. And as you can see, there are some viable roots on there, but that's okay. That will allow her room to go into the pot, because the thing is, I'm going to have to bury these bulbs here a little bit just to get this new growth to be closer to the media, so that the roots that she is growing right here will go down. Right now they're going out of the pot. And what to do with the one in the middle that is growing her roots. I'm going to take this one off as well. Well, oh, hold on. Yeah, we have a whole separate growth here. Actually, we have 2 plants in here. Okay. Well, that changes things a bit. Let me move that one to the side real quick. So this one is the one with the really great root system, apparently. Although this is now nice and this is loose off of here, but it's still attached, so we'll leave it on there. Like I said, I'm not going to try to cut anything, but here is the new growth with that root. So this is what I'm going to call the front of this portion here. And I'm just going to put them both in the same pot. I'm not going to repot 2 of them. Just double check all of this, clean it up as best as I can without damaging more than what it already is. Because when I initially got her and repotted her, I just took her out of what she came in and just basically plopped her back in to this pot here with the moss, just wrap the roots and put her in there. Now I don't know if she's gonna make it. I'm a little worried. That's all we can do on that. So let me spray this one with some hydrogen peroxide and hope everything turns out well. And I was talking about humidity before I got sidetracked, but the humidity in my living room does not get that high. Average between 25 and 30. Usually it's closer to the lower end. I don't know what to do here, because this one does not have quite the roots the other section has. Well, we've got to keep that one, and maybe if I do her more at an angle so that I can get this kind of set in, with the new growths kind of set in, and do her more at an angle. So this is really all the roots that she has. But this top portion here is already trying to dry out. So this new root system coming in here is going to be what is going to save her, if she's going to be saved. And these back bulbs, I was thinking of taking this one off, but I'm gonna leave them all on just to help support her. And she's had 2 other, like this little growth here and this one here, that haven't done well. But this one here is one of the ones that bloomed. And if she does try to bloom off of either growth, I will cut the spike, because she is not healthy enough to bloom. She was so pretty a few months ago. I'm not sure if moving her, because the only thing I changed really was her lighting. Everything else stayed the same, and it wasn't a drastic change. She just went from bright light to diffused light. So I'm not sure if that had anything to do with her demise, but at the same time, I think she can be saved. So I don't have anything else in cocoa husk. This is my first time using cocoa husk. I lie, I have my Miltoniopsis in cocoa husk, and she's doing rather well. I haven't taken her out of the pot. She's been in there for about 5 months, and it is kind of a self-watering kind of system. All right, let me spray this one. And while I am doing this, if you are watching this and you post videos on orchids, and it doesn't necessarily have to be on YouTube, it could be, I don't know if TikTok allows for video links of that, or Instagram, or any other social media platform, and would like to join in the Care Collab, reach out to any of us here or to Nina at Ninja Orchids, and we can add you to the next Care Collab. And if you are interested in doing other orchids, also send a list to Nina, and she can add you to her database. And then when a Care Collab pops up, she can reach out to you, let you know it's coming, and if it works within your schedule, you can join in on that as well. And then I did already pre-cut a lot of the really big pieces that were in here. I just want to double check and make sure that I don't have ginormous pieces. But as you can see, it's going to have big pieces and then kind of the more coir, C-O-I-R, however you say that word, that'll kind of mimic the moss as well. And with it having been soaked for, like I said, over a week, it should not dry out too quickly, too fast. I do have 2 pots here that I was going to choose from, but I think it's obvious they probably need to go into the smaller one just to keep it more together. And I chose pots that don't have holes on the outside because I don't want the cocoa husk drying out too much. This pot here does have the slats in it. However, it was sitting in a decorative pot to kind of help keep that moisture in. I haven't decided if I'm going to do that with this one or not, because the way we have to do these. So this one's going to have to kind of go sideways this way. And then this one with this new growth on this side. Maybe put her in, put them in this way. Like that. With the older growth there. I just don't think this is going to give her room to grow, but I do want her to be in a smaller pot to help with that. What do you think? Let me see what it would look like in the bigger pot. I just think the bigger pot might be too much, but at the same time, it will allow new growths without me having to disturb her again, because yeah, I'm going to do that, because in the other pot, I feel like I'm going to have to disrupt her too quickly. All right, let me get her potted up, and we'll be back to see what the end result is. Okay, so here's kind of my plan. One, I am going to stake her right here, just because that piece there is a wee bit wobbly, and I do want it to be a little more secure as that root grows down. There we go, that'll help with that one. And then I'm going to put a little bit more cocoa husk right in here, but I'm going to backfill this area back here with these bulbs that are, if I keep putting cocoa husk back here, I feel like they'll rot. So I'm just going to backfill this with some bark, some large bark, to keep that area a little bit drier. And then I will say a little prayer for her. And like I said, I'll just probably keep her where I had her just because of the repot stress. Leave her there for a few months. March. So for the next 6 weeks, because it is middle of January. So for the next 6 weeks, I will put her back where I had her so that she can kind of settle into this pot before I transition her to a brighter light area. And like I said, those older growths, I will put some bark around them just to keep them from rotting back here. And hopefully on the next Care Collab, we'll see her again and she will have improved. And I know this pot looks big, but I don't want her growing out of this pot, and I have to disturb her again. And like I said, I hope she makes it, but if she doesn't, I'm not going to be real upset. Her blooms are gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but I didn't get that smell, and maybe if she bloomed again, I would enjoy the smell. I don't know. But unfortunately, if she does try to bloom off of either one of her new growths, she will not be able to do that because she needs to recover from this. Guys, again, thank you so much for everyone who has joined in the collab. I will be going to check out everyone's videos to see if I can get some tips on how to get her to recover and hopefully see some blooms. So go check them out. And with that, you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.